To most, it is a paradise of sun-drenched beaches, turquoise waters, and rhythmic nights that never end. But Ibiza is far more than a party island. Beneath the pulse of electronic music and glimmer of luxury yachts lies a story carved by thousands of years. A story of survival, conquest, and cultural fusion. This is the history of Ibiza, where myth meets memory, and the past never truly sleeps. If you enjoy stories that blend travel, history, and hidden truths of iconic destinations, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There's so much more to discover together. Long before the world knew Ibiza as a global tourism hub, it was a strategic stronghold in the heart of the Mediterranean. The earliest known settlers were the Phoenicians, who arrived around 654 BC. They named it Ibosham, dedicated to their god of music and dance, Bes. Even back then, Ibiza was tied to rhythm and celebration. The Phoenicians, expert sailors and traders, made Ibiza a commercial outpost. They brought with them knowledge of metallurgy, agriculture, and pottery. The salt flats of Ibiza, still operational today, were a major draw, and the island's sheltered coves made it an ideal harbor for trade. Following the decline of Phoenician power, the Carthaginians, their North African cousins, took control. They expanded Ibiza's influence, building temples and exporting goods like garum, a prized fermented fish sauce, to Rome and beyond. By 146 BC, as the Romans conquered Carthage, Ibiza aligned with Rome peacefully. Under Roman rule, the island flourished. Roads were built, trade expanded, and the local population, already a mix of Phoenician, Punic, and Iberian blood, became increasingly Romanized. As Roman power waned, so did Ibiza's fortunes. By the early 8th century, Muslim forces from North Africa swept across the Iberian Peninsula, including the Balearic Islands. Ibiza, now known as Ibiza, came under Moorish control. The Moors brought new technologies, agricultural systems, and architecture. Terraced farming, advanced irrigation, and olive cultivation reshaped the island. Arabic became the dominant language, and the island entered a new era of cultural and economic vitality. This rule continued until 1235, when Catalan forces, led by Guillaume de Montgrí, conquered the island during the Christian Reconquista. Ibiza was absorbed into the crown of Aragon, and the Moors were expelled or converted. Christianity returned, and a feudal system was imposed. Ibiza town, or Ibiza, became the capital, and construction began on the hilltop fortress d'Alt Vila, which still stands today. Its walls, expanded over centuries, are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, bearing witness to centuries of conflict and defense. Though under Christian rule, Ibiza remained vulnerable. The 16th and 17th centuries were marred by pirate raids, especially from Ottoman-backed corsairs and Barbary pirates. Coastal villages were pillaged, and locals lived in constant fear. To counter this, a series of watchtowers were built across the island. Villagers lit fires to warn each other of approaching ships. It was an era of survival, isolation, and resilience. During this time, Ibiza developed a tight-knit culture, with strong family bonds, oral traditions, and a language that fused Catalan with local dialects. Life was simple but harsh. The island's rocky terrain and limited resources meant that most people lived off the land and sea. In the 20th century, Ibiza was thrust into the shadows of Spain's brutal civil war. Under Francisco Franco's dictatorship, the island was isolated once again. Censorship, repression, and economic hardship defined the era. But in the 1950s and 60s, things began to change. Franco's government opened Spain to foreign tourism to boost the struggling economy. Ibiza's natural beauty attracted Europeans seeking warmth, peace, and something different. As roads improved and flights increased, the island began to open up, cautiously but irreversibly. In the 1960s and 70s, Ibiza became a magnet for artists, thinkers, and dropouts from around the world. Drawn by its isolation, affordability, and beauty, the hippie movement made Ibiza its home. They brought with them new ideas: free love, Eastern spirituality, psychedelics, and music. Villages like San Juan and Santa Eulalia became centers of this bohemian life. Peaceful coexistence with locals created a unique cultural mix: laid back, accepting, and open. The hippies didn't just visit, they transformed Ibiza. They helped preserve its landscapes, encouraged artistic expression, and gave the island a global identity far removed from mainstream tourism. By the late 1980s and early 90s, a new scene emerged: electronic dance music. Superclubs like Amnesia, Pasha, and later Privilege and DC-10 turned Ibiza into the global capital of nightlife. What began as beach parties grew into legendary events that attracted DJs and dancers from every continent. Ibiza's nightlife became its own kind of history, celebrated, copied, and mythologized. But with fame came change. Property prices soared, crowds grew, and Ibiza wrestled with its identity. A spiritual refuge or a commercialized playground? Despite the glitz and noise, Ibiza has never lost touch with its roots. Its Phoenician ruins, Moorish irrigation systems, and medieval churches remain. The Dalt Vila Fortress, perched above Ibiza town, stands as a silent guardian of its past. Today, the island balances between heritage and hedonism, drawing visitors who seek both beauty and history. From UNESCO sites to traditional Ibicenco festivals, the soul of the island endures. Ibiza is more than a destination. It is a living timeline, a crossroads of civilizations, each leaving its mark on the white stone walls and red-soiled hills. So the next time you hear the beat of a DJ or feel the sun on an Ibizan beach, remember, you're standing where Phoenicians once prayed, where Moors planted olive trees, where pirates looted and hippies dreamed. This is Ibiza, and its history is still being written. Thanks for watching. If you found value in this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with fellow travelers and history lovers. Your support helps us keep uncovering the stories behind the places we think we know.